So we are going to be talking about how to make these accordions. And we're also going to use the example of how to take this and put it over here. So just a couple side notes. One is when you're on the department pages, some of these like contacts and documents are auto-generated, and so what I'm about to show you isn't really going to work. But for ones like this that are manually made, this will totally work. So the other side note is that admittedly how we're going to do this is pretty much what I'd call kind of a hack. Basically we've rigged the level 3 header, so H3 or header 3, to become a collapsible accordion, and it's also rigged to take the immediate following paragraph tag and grab that and condense it. Now, not the second paragraph, mind you, just the first one. So if this here were all wrapped in one paragraph tag, which means that this here is a soft return instead of a hard return, then all of this would be included if this had been an accordion. So like here, this is a soft return because it's included. So there's a starting paragraph tag here and an ending paragraph tag here if I looked at the code. Normally I don't want to give CMS trainings and mention code, but in this case, this little concept kind of helps explain how these things work, and it's important to know that so that if it's not working, you instead of feeling super frustrated, know how to figure it out, because we're going to talk about that too. So I'm going to go over to this browser where I'm logged in, and I'm going to stick my cursor right here because that's where the content is that I want. I'm going to expand it like so, and then I'm going to take this. Now, before I take it, I just want to make a commentary here. If I were to take this and then go and paste it where I want it to be, that isn't going to do it, and it may carry over some code that I didn't want. So if I were to look at the source code right now before I've done anything, I just want to show you this has the start of a header 3. Here, I'll make this bigger. This has the start of a header 3 in the end, wrapped around it, and then this has the start of a paragraph tag in the end. Okay? And I got that because I selected this at some point, and I chose heading 3. And then I selected this at some point, and I chose normal, which is basically a paragraph. Except I unpicked it just now, so there we go. Sometimes when we cut and paste things, not in the code where it's, literally exactly what we want, like so, but instead like this, for reasons that I cannot explain, it takes garbage formatting with it. It just like creates, it's just like Word, it just creates random formatting that you didn't ask for in the process of cutting and pasting somehow. So that will happen with this. So you see what happened there? All I did was cut and paste it, and I put it back into exactly where it was, and already I've got like all this size stuff that wasn't there before. Earlier I had to actually re-record this because it put in margin stuff, so it's just good to be aware that that stuff happens. It happens with every content management system, and it's frustrating if you don't know to expect it. So I'm going to go ahead and do Control Z and undo that because I want this to, see, be that. So I can either take it like this and then remember to take it where I'm going to take it and put it in the source view, or I can take it the other way and paste it as simple text and then create my header and my paragraph tag. It's kind of the most straightforward way to do it. So I'm going to do it both ways, just for the sake of showing. So right now I'm in the source. This is what I want. Control X, which is cut, as I'm sure you know. And now I want to go into the second one here, I think. I know I made it nice and big for you, but I gotta shrink it down a little so that we can see stuff. Okay, so yeah, it's in this one, because if I look here, I happen to have looked already, so I happen to know that the first one is contact details, the second one has both council member terms and elections, and the third one has additional links. So I guess I could put it in either one, but I'm choosing to put it in this one. I don't think there's a right or a wrong decision there, for the record. So if I go here and I expand it, I'd also like to point out that if I do this, this shows me my content blocks. You can see where the hard returns are, just for the record. But I'm gonna open my source because I know that I cut and pasted source. And if I do that right here, then it is likely going to show up the way I want it to. So let's save. Without a whole lot of headaches, without a whole lot of garbage styling code being written that I wasn't expecting, that I don't know how to read. Well, I mean, I do, but okay. So if I refresh, this is there, and hey, there it is. So that was super easy, right? We were done. But I do want to show it the other way because you might choose to do it the other way, and source code view kind of scares people. So like I said, this is a hack. This is not exactly a straightforward content management system, but it is the least painful way for us to make it super accessible for you to make these accordions. And once you get used to this particular item, it won't be a big deal. So the other thing that I can do is go here, and let's say that I am cutting and pasting it from here right now just to get it again, and then we'll put it in here. So the other thing that I could have done when I took it here is I could have stayed out of the source view and just taken the text that I wanted. And then Control X. And then I could either paste it as simple text, as plain text, or I could paste it the way it is into the source and it would become simple text. So if I put it in here, all I cut and pasted on that side was the language, and so there it is, no write-up, no markup. So if I do this, it has no markup. Now you can see why I told you the other way is easier, but now I'm out of source. I could go, okay, I want that to be my heading 3, and want this, if I make a return here, I want this to be my paragraph. And then I can just double check and see how we're looking. And I go, yep, this is nice and clean. Paragraph, paragraph, header, header, nothing extra. And then I can save this and see how I did there. Wow, that's interesting. What did I do? See, it starts getting tricky when you do that. The easiest thing to do when you're doing accordions and you want to move them really is just to open source, grab it, and then put it in where you want it in source, because then you know it's correct. You don't have to do all this sleuthing and second guessing. But ultimately, it will look the same. So back in my content editor view of this, there's a way that I can check for these kinds of mistakes without getting all surprised on the live side. This is show blocks. And when I do this, I see that I've got a section here that I didn't anticipate. So clearly, this is a header with nothing inside it, which I didn't mean to do. And so I should be able to delete this. And then we should be okay. Because these things do happen. And that's why being able to see where the breaks are like this is helpful, especially when you aren't someone who wants to look at source code, because nobody does. And then we can save it and check it. And then as you can see, once again, this is the way it should look. So deleting that worked. So what we've gone over is what I think is probably, though seemingly intimidating for probably the first 2 minutes, what I think is probably the least problematic way to move an accordion over without there, being some sort of cut and paste mishap. Then I showed sort of another way that you could do it, and if it gives you problems, what that might be, and then that content block button that kind of helps you to foresee that something might not be quite right. Just to make the point though real quick, let me add a new one. We're not going to keep it, but I'll just put it here for a second. So if I wanted to do test here, test accordion, and then let's see, test, my content is the best, test, and then I take that line and I'm going to do a soft return and a hard return. So one thing that Word does that these guys do opposite, even though they are Microsoft partners and in many ways mimic Microsoft products, it's one way they decided to do opposite, which has driven me crazy, because this is one of those things where you just learn to do it a certain way, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I have to drive on the left side of the road. I can't do it. So in Word, a soft return is always shift return, and that means that you have a line break but not a new paragraph. And then hard return to a new paragraph is just return. Here it's the opposite. So right now I'm going to do a soft return, which is just return. I'm going to paste that line again, and now I'm going to do a shift return for a hard return, and do that. And let's see what we've got. Oh, I made myself a little list. Okay, so if I was typing along and I wanted to add a new one, I'm not cut and pasting anything. I'm totally making one from scratch. So here's I'm right here. I'm in this guy right here. So one of the things I'm doing to avoid things not going my way and me not knowing why is to follow my own advice, and I'm going to have this right here that shows me the content blocks. So here's the end of what I've typed so far. And I'm going to hit return. And then I'm going to say test header here. And then I'm going to know that I want that as a header 3, so I'm going to go ahead and style that. And now I see I'm in a new section, which is great. Now I want to do a new paragraph, so return button. And I know that I want this to be a paragraph. Right now it says format. I know it's not styled, so let's go ahead and make that normal. And I'm going to keep typing. And then I'm going to go ahead and start a new paragraph, which, as I said before, is counter to everything we've all learned. So it's shift return. Oh, look, new paragraph. And instead, if I'd actually wanted to go up here and do soft return, so just a line break, but not a hard one. Return. Boom. And you see this is all wrapped in the same p tag. You can tell because there's a line here and here. So all this is going to be in the accordion, and this is not. So if I meant for it to be in the accordion, then I'd need to make sure that my returns were soft. So when it's not in the accordion, it looks like this, and you will have this happen, so hopefully you'll know what to do now so that you're not frustrated. Okay, so once I refreshed, now you see here's my test header, and then here's this hard return that I made that's not in there. But here's all my soft. And if I wanted it to look like multiple paragraphs, but still be in there, then that's as simple as just adding another soft return right there. Which, as you can see, is not creating new sections. So there, refresh. Now look, I've got these soft returns making it look like I have multiple paragraphs, but they're all inside the one thing. So now I'm going to fix this because obviously I don't want that hanging out there. So if I go here, I'm going to open this up again. That's really helpful. I go, I wanted that in there. So all I did was hit backspace and delete, and then go, oh, what I really need is a soft return. So just return, not shift return. There we go. Save. And go ahead and refresh. And now that looks much better. And so now I've added one. Now I'm going to remove it, obviously, because I know you don't want that there. But that is how that works. So just to recap, we went over how to take one and put it somewhere else in a couple different ways, how to troubleshoot when it doesn't work out, how to make a new one, how to troubleshoot if that's problematic, so that hopefully when we want to add these, it's successful, because they are super useful and fun. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete that and that, because I don't want all this stuff here. And save. And there we go. All better. Alrighty, that's it. That is dealing with accordions and collapsibles on the fly.